What is up, you guys? Stevie here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. You guys always ask me, Stevie, how do you edit your photos? What do you use to shoot your photos? Like, how did you do this thing on Instagram stories? So basically, in today's video, I'm gonna be sharing with you all of my tips and tricks on how to curate and put together a really nice, again, well-curated, aesthetic Instagram photo and story. I'm gonna share with you guys all the gear that I use, and I'm just gonna share with you guys my tips and tricks on, again, how to create a really banger Instagram story and post. So before I share with you guys how I edit my Instagram stories and photos and stuff, I want to share with you guys all of the gear that I use to shoot my content. So the said gear that I use is this Sony camera that's being used to film this video right now. I just picked it up. It's a Sony a7C with a 24-70 f4 lens. And besides this camera, I just use my brand new iPhone. I believe this is the 12 Pro. So I just bounce between the camera and my iPhone depending on, you know, what content I'm trying to shoot, which one I have access to and all that stuff. Obviously, the camera that I'm using right now to film this video is super expensive. So by no means do you have to have an expensive camera. Obviously, you know, stick within your budget. And I'm really surprised, but honestly, an iPhone, especially nowadays, can get you really far in regards to social media and taking really good content and stuff. So if you just have a really good iPhone or just like basically any phone with a good camera, you should be good to go. So in regards to editing my photos and my Instagram stories, I only use one app, and that is VSCO or VSCO, whatever you want to call it. I'm pretty sure you guys already know what that app is. Everyone uses it. It's such a great app. You can edit photos in there. You can add filters to it. I have 3 go-to filters, and these filters I did pay for, but obviously this is like my full-time job and stuff, so I don't mind spending a little bit extra on these said filters. My go-to filters are A6, A10, and B5. A6 is a really neutral ground. You can add warmth to it to kind of, again, add that nice like warmy tone to it, or you can kind of lean it more towards the cool side. A6 is definitely a really nice, again, neutral ground. A10 is the filter that I've been using a ton lately. If you go on my Instagram, that's the filter that I've been using and slapping on my photos to kind of get that really nice vintage, almost film-like aesthetic. And B5 is a really nice, really high on the shadows type of filter, and that's kind of how I like my black and white photos. I like them to be very, again, just really heavy on the shadows. But yeah, those right there are my 3 go-to filters from VSCO. Like I said, you do have to pay for it, but it's not that expensive. So I'm gonna show you guys how I edit 3 different types of photos. So we got an outfit photo, a lifestyle photo, and then of course I'm gonna show you guys how to edit a black and white photo. So starting off with the outfit photo, I usually just go ahead and obviously import it to the VSCO app, and then I'll go ahead and open it up. So with all of my outfit photos, and like I said, I've been really gravitating towards the A10 filter, which is, again, that really nice, warm, faded, vintage, almost film-like aesthetic. So I literally just go ahead and press A10, and then I'll go ahead and drag it down to maybe anywhere from like a 7 to 8, depending on, you know, how much filter I want on that said photo. Either like add more or put less, whatever your taste is. But I usually keep it around like maybe like a 7.5. And like I said, every photo is different. So I'll go ahead and maybe add some contrast to this. Nothing too crazy, maybe just like a 1. And then because this was an iPhone photo right here, I like to always bump up the clarity just a little bit. I don't want it to be too sharp or anything. Something I've been really liking lately is also dropping down the highlights. Before, I used to be so into like putting the highlights hella up and stuff, but now I'm just kind of more on like that, again, faded, film-like, just more, not necessarily natural, but just more, I don't know, just more vibey stuff, if you know what I'm trying to get at. So I'll drop the highlight just a little bit, maybe like a 1.5. I like to bump up the temperature to make it more warm. So I'll usually do anything from like a 0.5 to a 1. Especially with VSCO filters, you don't want it to be like too much, or you don't want it to like, you know, look super filtered like. Obviously you are slapping a filter on it already. So when you're doing the little mini adjustments, just like try not to go too overboard, because that's how it's gonna look. I guess it's just not gonna look right. So when you're editing the photo in VSCO, just always remember like less is more. And then something that I've been doing a lot of lately is I'll go ahead and add grain to my filter. This grain filter right here is the exception to the less is more rule. I usually go super heavy with the grain. So I'll go ahead and put it up to like a 3.5, anywhere to like a 5, because again, that's my feed aesthetic. I want it to look like vintage. I want the photos to almost look like kind of old. And then for the fade, I usually just keep that light as well, anywhere from like a 5 to a 1. or sorry, anywhere from a 0.5 to a 1. The last step that I like to do is I like to adjust the brightness after I already adjusted all of the other things within that said photo. So this photo is pretty good as it is right now, but again, I want it to be just a little more dark. So I'll go ahead and drop this photo down to maybe like a 1. So that's the before and this is the after, and that's perfect. And then I'll go ahead and just save it to my camera roll, and that's it. So for lifestyle photos, I basically do the same kind of edit for, again, those lifestyle photos that I use for my outfit or fashion photos. Go ahead and go into the VSCO app and then save that said photo into your drafts. And then that photo will now be in your drafts kind of portion of the VSCO app. And then go ahead on your previous photo that you just edited, click the 3 dots on the bottom right and click copy edits. And then you can go ahead and paste the edits on the new photo that you're trying to edit. So as you guys can see from the screen recording, this is what the photo looks like with the A10 filter. And as I mentioned, the A10 filter has been my go-to lately. I think this photo right here looks perfect the way it is. This is like ready to go. I would 100% post this in my feed or on my Instagram story. But just to kind of give you guys some more variety, and for any of you guys who you might not like the A10 filter and you want to see what the A6 filter looks like, because as I mentioned, the A6 filter is a little bit more on the neutral side of things. So this photo, like I said right here, is a really great neutral ground. For any of you guys who just kind of want a really neutral, simple feed, you don't necessarily like that vintage aesthetic and that vintage filter film-like kind of thing, A6 would be a really great option for you as well. So I also wanted to show you guys how I edit a black and white photo, because that's also a really big portion of my feed. I really do try to incorporate at least one black and white photo in every single row of my feed, because I feel like that kind of creates, again, cohesion. It kind of makes it, you know, seems like it's all put together, and it creates somewhat of a theme. So let me show you guys how I edit a black and white photo. So I'll go ahead and select a photo, something like this. You guys already know what it is if you follow me over on Instagram at STEVIE SALLE. I always post like on the way photos like this, where I'm like in the car. So this photo right here would be a really great option for the black and white B5 filter. And this one right here, you really can go either way. You can keep it super high at 12, depending on how much, like, I guess, depth you want the black and white effect to be. I personally like it to not be that intense, but again, to each their own. You can do your own thing. I like to keep it around maybe like a 7, anywhere from like a 6 to a 7. So I'll just go ahead and leave it at a 7 for now. And then I basically do the same mini adjustments that I did with the fashion and lifestyle videos. I'll go ahead and add some contrast to it, definitely add some clarity to even enhance more of the, again, shadow. I'll also drag the highlights down in this as well, maybe like a 1.5 or something. With black and white photos, I love to bump up the grain hella, because I feel like there's something about a really nice grainy black and white photo. It just kind of adds really great character to your feed and to your Instagram stories. So usually I put it to a 3.5 for the fashion and lifestyle photos, but for black and white photos, I'll go anywhere from like a 4 to a 5. And then I'll go ahead and add some fade, because obviously black and white photos with fade and green is kind of the vibe, and that's where that's at. And then the last thing I do with all of my photos, of course, is I adjust the brightness. With this black and white filter, it is looking kind of dark, so I'll go ahead and bump this one up just a little bit. Actually, never mind. Actually, no, I think I'm gonna just leave it at 0. And that's kind of, you know, like I said, every photo is different. Sometimes you don't even have to adjust the exposure, which is obviously what I just did. I just left it at 0, and that looks just great. So I'll go ahead and add that to my draft, and that's that. Now we're gonna dive into how I edit and post my Instagram stories. But before we do that, I wanna give a big shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. I worked with Skillshare numerous times before, and I feel like Skillshare is such a great online learning tool that you guys could use. And I really wanted to mention in this video right here, because I feel like Skillshare, taking photos, building a social media career, and just doing all of those things that being a social media influencer and content creator encompasses, really does require some skills, and that's where Skillshare comes into play. So for any of you guys who don't know what Skillshare is, here's a little bit more info on what they are about. Skillshare is an amazing online learning platform and community with thousands and thousands of inspiring classes for creatives and curious people. Whether you're looking to explore new skills, develop existing interests, or just get lost in your own creativity, Skillshare most definitely has a little something for everyone. A course that I'm really excited to take is the DIY product photography, style and shoot creative stills by the team and duo over at Mango Street, Rachel and Daniel. I personally see the Mango Street work all over social media and all over the internet, so having access to them through Skillshare and being able to learn from their tips and tricks on how to better my photography skills and just be an overall better and more developed creator is such an amazing opportunity. I would highly recommend Skillshare because they really do offer membership with meaning. You get to connect with and have the support of fellow creatives, enter a community of encouragement, communication, and just overall amazing inspiration. So with all that being said, I would highly encourage you guys to check out Skillshare. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description box down below will get a free trial to Skillshare Premium membership, and after that it's only around $10 a month. I want to share with you guys how I curate and put together my Instagram stories. So it's actually honestly not that hard, but I feel like I have some little tips and tricks here and there that I think could really help you guys curate and keep a really nice cohesive Instagram story. So the number one tip that I have for uploading to your Instagram story is upload your photos from your camera roll. So as you guys saw, I edited all my photos in VSCO, and majority of the time when I'm out and about or when I'm just again trying to post something on Instagram story, I usually won't go on the Instagram story app and then take a photo and then post that and then use the preset like Instagram filters. What I'll do is I'll actually swipe up and I'll take the photos from my camera roll, the edited ones that I just edited on VSCO, and then I'll upload those said photos. Another tip that I have for kind of maintaining a really nice, well-curated Instagram story is keeping the text size all the same size. Something I'll do with a photo like this is maybe promote a new video that I have going up that night. So it'll say like brand new video tonight / 6 p.m. PST. So what I do now is, if you guys can see from the recording, there's almost like this little toggle on the left side of your Instagram app when you're on the stories, and that controls the size of the text. I personally didn't know that. So like I said, this is a game changer that I just recently found. So what I like to do is I like to keep my text on my Instagram stories all the same size throughout that day that I'm posting. And I usually like to keep it just super small and simple. So I'll just go ahead and drag it all the way down, and then I'll go ahead and place it wherever I want to place it. And that will be my Instagram story for the day with the text. What I used to do before, and what I see a lot of people doing, and there's nothing wrong with this method of changing the text size, it's just, again, if you want to keep the cohesion, if you want to keep your Instagram story looking like all the same and just like more put together, this is what I would avoid. So I see a lot of people getting the text like this, and to adjust the size of their text, they'll go ahead and they'll pinch it like this. And there's nothing wrong with that, but chances are you're not going to remember the exact pinch size that you did for that said text when you're onto your next Instagram story. And of course, like I said, that's not wrong or right. There's no which like way or reason you should go. It's just more for me, it's more of a preference. I like knowing that all of my texts are the same size because again, it creates like a story. It creates like this almost, again, it just looks more well put together in my opinion. Another thing that you guys always ask me, and I've done this like ever since I started my Instagram career or whatever you want to call it, when I post a food photo, so I just edited this photo of like some oysters that I had, I like to write the word yum with my finger in almost like kind of a messy cursive sort of thing. And a lot of you guys always ask me like, is that a filter? Is that like a text style? Or like, did you take a photo of that or something? And I straight up just drew it. So I just kind of want to explain to you guys how I draw it. Again, take the photo from your camera roll, upload it to Instagram story, press the draw tool, and I use the brush option that's all the way to the left, and I'll go ahead and adjust the size of the brush with that same toggle that I was mentioning in the text. And I like to keep it just a little bit above the smallest size, and I'll literally place my phone on my lap like this, and I'll just write yum with white text. So it'll be like yum, and then I write like a little underline underneath the yum. My biggest tip with that yum writing is don't overthink it. Usually the messier it looks, the nicer it looks and the more natural it looks. So just as the way that this photo is right now is exactly how I would keep it. And then the last thing that you guys ask me a lot is when I reshare photos, how I get the same color background of every photo. So let me go ahead and just show you guys a little example. So we'll hop on over to my saved, and let's go ahead and we'll use this outfit photo as an example. So I'll go ahead and click the reshare button, and I'll add the post to my story. I'll go ahead and size it however I want. So to add the color behind the photos, you select that same drawing tool from the yum thing that I just showed you. Go ahead and click that same brush as well, and on the bottom there's all these colors. Go ahead and select the color that you like. I usually gravitate towards like this really nice like moodier maroonish color, or I'll go ahead and take like the darkest gray, but I'll stick with the red maroon color for now. So all you have to do is you just grab your finger, hold down the background of that photo, and the whole photo in the background will turn to that color that you selected on the bottom. And that's basically it. So whenever I reshare like inspo photos of that day, that's what I will do. And the reason why I like doing that is because if you don't do that, otherwise your photos will just kind of create like this gradient effect, and it matches the colors of the photo that you're resharing. So if you're resharing like this really colorful photo, it's gonna create again like this really gradient rainbow effect, and that's just like not what I want on my Instagram story. I want it again to look cohesive, aesthetic, all like put together and stuff. That same camera roll trick that I shared with you guys about the photos works for videos too. So let me show you guys. So we'll swipe over, we'll go up, and then let's just take a video from just something that I shot recently. So I just recently got this Prada water bottle. So I'll go ahead and I'll use this. Like I said, I recorded this video clip obviously on my camera roll, not on the Instagram app. I'll upload that clip from my camera roll onto Instagram story. This is how I get my videos on Instagram to look super crisp and clean and just more defined, because when you use the Instagram camera, there's nothing wrong with it, but it tends to kill the quality, especially after you upload it, versus if you were to take it from your camera roll and then upload it to Instagram story, it looks a lot better. And because I don't edit my Instagram story videos in a post app before uploading it, I just go ahead and use the filters that's on the Instagram app. And some of my favorites are Tokyo for a black and white look. For something that's a little bit more neutral, I like to use the Oslo filter. Something that matches my feed, which is like that film-like, faded, kind of more warm tone aesthetic, I like to use the filter Los Angeles. So I'll go ahead and just kind of bounce back between those three said filters on Instagram for my videos. And like I said, that is the key. You have to upload videos from your camera roll to your Instagram stories to make sure it looks like the best quality it could be. All right, you guys, and that is it for my how I edit my Instagram photos and Instagram stories. Hopefully this video right here definitely gave you some inspo on how to step up your like Instagram game and all that stuff. Obviously this is my full-time job, so that's why I put so much attention to detail when I curate my Instagram photos and stories. It's obviously not that deep, but again, if you're just the type of person who likes to be super meticulous and you like to kind of again curate a vibe, curate an aesthetic, again, hopefully this video kind of served you some sort of purpose. If you enjoyed this video, definitely be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content like this. And as always, if you kind of want more of this, definitely be sure to follow me over on Instagram. It's just my name at STEVIE SALLE. I'll throw it up on the screen right here. But yeah, I think that's it for today. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.